All right. Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. All right. Again, my name is Tyson Haynes, one of your Miami technology instructors, along with Connie Nieto, as well as Christy Denise. And what we do is we provide teaching. We go directly into all of our different product and services to teach you guys how to use our platforms. And today, the 301, which is what we're doing right now, we're going to hyper focus on the MLS, specifically Matrix. We're going to look at the stats reports that we have available inside of the platform. Not only am I going to explain it from a mechanical perspective, but I'm also going to try to fit it in today during today's Zoom. Also, when we would apply that during our everyday business. Okay, so after we do some statistical reports, we're also going to create a CMA. A CMA is short for Comparative Market Analysis report. And if you want to know all of the different services that we offer in order to run that CMA, I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat the exact page where I am. It is miamirealtors.com/services/CMA. And if you want to see all of the different products that we offer that will allow you to create a CMA, and not to mention tips when you use these platforms in order to create a CMA, we have a wealth of knowledge located on this page. So over here on the left, where you see CMA tools, you do have the ability to use RPR, which is a national program provided by the National Association of Realtors in order to create a CMA. As well, they have a lot of listings across the United States within their system. I would say it's one of the most powerful systems in order to create a CMA. Not only within RPR do you have the ability to pull on market listings, RPR also allows you to pull off market sales, off market meaning for sale by owners as well as new construction. Essentially, both properties that were listed in the MLS and also properties that were not listed in the MLS, meaning I get the full amount of comparables using platforms such as RPR as well as Remine and also using Relist. The reason being is services like Relist, Remine, RPR, they are tactual programs and they also pull MLS data as well. Okay, also, further down, we also have MLS Touch on this page, which is our mobile platform that you can download on your phone. There's a really amazing button inside of MLS Touch. Whenever you're looking at a listing, there's a little button that says comparables. When you click that button inside of MLS Touch, and I wish I was here to cover this today because it's an amazing feature, that comparables button on any listing inside of MLS Touch will allow you to find property in that immediate area that is still on the market, as well as looking at what may be recently sold. So I'm going to give you a really cool way to use that little feature in MLS Touch. For example, if you're ever at a showing, maybe you're with a buyer, and the buyer and yourself walk out of the property and then the buyer tells you, hey, I like this area. This property's not the right fit for me, but I like this community or maybe the neighborhood or the area, right? That little comparables button will allow you to pull properties that just hit the market or are in the area that are priced relatively close to the property that they're interested in. So again, take advantage of that little button whenever you're looking at a listing. You can miss it. It's right underneath the photos. You may have to swipe over to the right, but you'll find it where it says comparables. Okay. You can also create a CMA using Matrix. Matrix is going to give us comparative properties that were entered into the MLS. So that means I'm going to pull on market sales as well as what's under contract and what's still available. Okay. You can also create a CMA using the product that I'm pointing at right now by the name of IMAP. IMAP is an amazing system in order to create a CMA. What it does, it's a little bit different, is it just looks at sold properties. It's not going to allow us to pull those under contract units from the MLS as well as what's active when we create a CMA. It just gives us sales based on what has sold directly from the county record. Okay, it's still an amazing solution, but when using IMAP, I would want to use another platform as well. I would want to create multiple CMAs using multiple products when I use IMAP. So I could pick up anything that is on the market to back up that comp when I use IMAP. Okay, now I had a couple of folks come in after we got started. Let me go ahead and just put this into chat, the page where I'm at. So again, take advantage of all of these amazing product and services, guys. If you want one that has an amazing presentation, RPR has amazing presentations when it comes to creating a CMA. Remind also has a beautiful presentation as well when you create one, and not to mention as well as Matrix. All right. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, this page also has tips located here on the right, including our CMA workshop. So this class, yes, we're going to cover CMAs. It's going to be more from a mechanical perspective, teaching you how to create a CMA using the MLS. But if you want to have the ability to take a class either in person or via Zoom, I would look for this one, the CMA workshop, because not only do you learn how to create a CMA from a agent's perspective, but you also learn how to create that CMA from an appraiser's perspective. The appraiser that we use in that class is an amazing leader of the Miami board by the name of George Jalil. All right, as we go down, if you do decide to use RPR in order to create a CMA, you have a beautiful little article right here that will tell you all of the amazing features in the new version of RPR, where you can add all of the required flyers that maybe your brokerage needs you to pack into that CMA. You have all of that information located here, as well as spotting and making the right price recommendation when you're working with your buyers or sellers. RPR also has a great little tip located right here. Okay, a little bit further down, we have a little button here that says got square footage. What that button is here for is to let you know whenever you have a listing inside of the MLS, whenever you have a listing inside of the MLS, either for sale or for rent that you put inside of the MLS, you're only going to be able to show the square footage that the county has. Okay, but with that said, you may have a seller that tells you, hey, my property's bigger than what the county record says. This little button is going to tell you that you can email our MLS department with a document, such as a floor plan, an architectural rendering, an appraisal. We, the MLS department, have to update the square footage in your listing so that it matches that document. Okay. Now, these two buttons right here where you see comp only sales, both of these are the same exact thing. What we want to let you guys know is whenever you represent a buyer, I'm going to say this nice and slow. Whenever you represent a buyer directly from a for sale by owner, again, you represented the buyer, but on the opposite side of the transaction, there was a for sale by owner or a developer, also known as new construction. We want to make sure that you get credit for that transaction in the MLS. Matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, we actually posted a message inside of the MLS regarding this. Okay, so if you ever represent that buyer, what we're going to need from you is to send us a copy of this, your settlement statement, as well as completing our comp only sales reporting form. You will need to email that directly to componlysales@miamire.com within 30 days of closing. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put this also into chat so everyone has access to this as well. All right, okay. All right, next up, next thing that I want to cover, guys, real quick is I know a lot of you have brokerages that provide you with a wealth of marketing whenever you're trying to secure that listing agreement, when you're working with a seller, as well as great buyer packages. I want to let you guys know, though, on our main website, miamirealtors.com, if you have your mouse over the section services, we have a little section here called co-branded marketing materials. If you ever wanted to know where you can find our Miami logos, not to mention the realtor logo, as well as flyers that we offer in different situations when you're working with your customers, you're going to want to come directly to this page. So I just put this in the chat. There's a lot of amazing flyers. I wish I had time to cover all of them. This is a very comprehensive class today. So the goal is to get into the MLS, to create these statistical reports, and also do two CMAs in 90 minutes. But when you come here, you're going to be able to see here in the top left a beautiful little flyer. There's two different versions of this exact flyer. This one on the left gives us just the data when it comes to all of the different cities that we service here in South Florida. Maybe we have a buyer relocating here from out of state or out of country, which we have a lot of those folks moving down here, and they don't know where they want to move. You can provide them with a flyer from Miami, Broward, Palm Beach, as well as Martin, including a video version, letting them know why Miami would be a great place in order to relocate. The reason why this section is called co-branded is we want you guys to take these flyers and then put your business card or your contact information here in the top right corner. All right, there's two different ways to possibly do that. One of which is downloading editing software such as Adobe Acrobat, or also you could do it like we did in the 90s. You could download these flyers and then you could put your business card. All you would need is a scanner, and then you can email it to yourself. And that's how you could superimpose your information there in the top right corner of that flyer. All right. So as I mentioned, there's two different versions of that one. Here we have this one that's just straight to the point, letting us know all of the reasons why buyers should relocate here. And it's also giving us exactly where the information is coming from within the flyer. And another thing to make sure to cover is whenever you have listings inside of the MLS and you want to find a flyer to provide to that seller, letting them know your marketing power. There's two things that I want to make sure I discuss with you guys. There's a flyer located here on the right. You have to scroll down a little bit where it says member listings are featured on worldwide websites. If that potential seller wants to know exactly where their listings go, you can include this flyer in your CMA or just email that directly to them. This is going to give them all of those primary websites, as well as a full breakdown of all of the different regions. We kind of went over this yesterday. All of the individual regions, meaning other MLS systems, that our listings are discoverable within their platforms. Okay. All right. So again, that flyer is located here in the bottom right. Member listings are featured on worldwide websites. And also, Tyson, you did mention where can you find all of the Miami logos? They're located right here in the bottom right where you see downloadable logos. All right. We have several different options when it comes to the Miami Realtors. If you're going to add these directly to your email signatures, you're going to want to download the .png version of these files. What that does is it removes the background. So if you are using different colors within your email signature, it will remove that background so it looks nice and neat. You can also find the Realtor logo over here on the right, as well as trademark rules and regulations on the right. And if you ever want to add Florida Realtors, because you are a member of Florida Realtors, if you want to add their logo as well within your email signatures or maybe within your branding as well, you have the Florida Realtors logo. And not to mention, if you're a commercial agent, you also have that beautiful red color Realtor logo here all the way in the bottom right. But I want to repeat, if you want to download these and add these into, for example, Canva, or if you want to download these and put these into maybe editing software, you're going to want to download the .png version of these files. Okay. All right, guys. So now that we got the marketing part out of the way and also giving you guys where you can find all of the platforms in order to create a CMA, what we're going to go ahead and do now is just jump real quick over to the Miami YouTube channel. I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat real quick the direct link. And as promised, yesterday's classes, they're already online, as you can see. We have the 101 from yesterday already posted, as well as the 201 from yesterday already posted. That way, if you guys want to fast forward, rewind, watch those videos, they're there. Okay. All right, guys. So as I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and go directly into the gateway. And first, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go into looking at a subject property, we're going to run a little bit of a scenario today, a little bit of a story, if you will, that we're working directly with a buyer. Okay. And the way that we're going to approach this scenario is we're going to pretend that it's an area that maybe we're not used to. So we're going to figure out the preliminary information on that local market ahead of time before that buyer may ask us questions about that area. So we're going to go here where you see Miami Services single sign-on, and then we're going to click right there where you see CoreLogic Matrix. So as I mentioned, guys, this class is being recorded. What I ask that you do is wait for the recording to hit the YouTube channel towards the end of the day. And then I ask at that point that you follow along and then you fast forward and rewind. When we're on Zoom, it's very difficult because we're all remote for us all to be on the same page. Okay. So again, go to the YouTube channel and you'll find the recordings there. But if you do want to follow along, we're going to go ahead and enter this listing number directly into the matrix system. This is going to be the unit that the buyer is interested in. All right. I'm also going to go ahead and put in the chat just in case you guys want to grab the listing number from there. All right. Once we access the details, what we want to know first before we even jump into the property is we want to confirm the address as well as the individual community or subdivision that the property falls into. Okay, so this property is going to be specifically in the Cutler Bay area, inside of the Lakes by the Bay community. It is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom property. It does have 1 half bath, and we do have the square footage as well for the area under air conditioning at 1,648. Okay, so I want to make sure I mention something very, very important. When you're looking at listings that start with the letter A, it means that the agent that put the property into the MLS, they belong to the Miami Association of Realtors. They're a member of the Miami Association of Realtors. If you ever see a listing that starts with the letter F, that means that they belong to the Fort Lauderdale Association of Realtors. We can still see their listings and, of course, go and see the properties. Just going over the distinction difference of the beginning of the listing. If the listing starts with the letter R, that means that they're a part of the Beaches MLS, a part of the Palm Beach Association as well. So I just want to explain the beginning of each listing number. And whenever the listing starts with the letter A, whenever you see this little asterisk, this little asterisco, if you will, right next to the square footage, what that means is that the agent auto-populated the listing directly from the county appraiser, meaning that is the actual square footage that the county has whenever we see this little asterisk. That includes right next to the square footage as well as right next to the folio number, just in case you did not know that. If I don't see the asterisk, it means I would need to do a double check. I would need to go to the county appraiser in order to see the actual square footage as well as possibly the bedrooms and bathrooms that they have recorded. Okay. Just wanted to make sure to give you guys that information. Okay. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to look at this unit. We're going to figure out the condition. What I mean by condition is we're going to figure out if they've made any improvements or upgrades within the property. So as we can see, this is a 2-story property inside of that area. All right. Great curve appeal. Looks great on the outside. We're going to get inside of this unit to figure out if they've made any improvements. So far to me, this looks like a standard resale with possible repainting. I don't see that they've redone the flooring whatsoever here. All right, we're going to keep going. Kitchen also looks possibly original. I don't see that they've made any improvements there. All right, we're going to keep going. Again, this looks like a standard resale. Does look like we have a 2nd-story patio also. Flooring on the 2nd floor also looks possibly original. I do not see any improvements. Again, reason why we're checking this is as we create our CMAs, we're looking for possible improvements so that when we find comparative sales or anything listed, we want to make sure that they match. But I want to repeat, this class is going to be more mechanical. The main goal is to teach you how to go directly into our platforms in order to create a CMA. But if you want a full breakdown What to look for when you create a CMA, there's two classes for that. There's the CMA workshop, and there's also a certification that you guys can get located here under our education section. If you go here where you see designations and certifications, by the name of the PSA. PSA is a certification. PSA is short for the Pricing Strategy Advisor. Not only do you get the opinions on what to look for from a real estate agent's perspective, but you also get a wealth of information directly from an appraiser's perspective. What I mean by appraiser's perspective, just to put that into consideration, is whenever an appraiser is looking at a property, they're looking at features as far as upgrades that are important to the area. What I mean by that is we live in Florida. So, for example, if a homeowner adds a chimney to their property, an appraiser may not consider that as an essential item as a part of the appraisal. Just to put that into perspective, if a homeowner in a community adds a pool, but all of the other units in that community does not have a pool, it's a possibility that the appraiser might not have an impact. It may not have an impact, I should say, inside of the appraisal price. So the PSA goes into fine details exactly what to look for as you run your appraisals. Just to put that into perspective, why the PSA class is very important. We do have it available in the HQ office at our headquarters office on the 6th of May. And for my Broward agents, we also have that at the Sunrise location if you guys want to take that also on the 8th of May. All right, guys. So again, I'm looking at this unit. It doesn't look like we've had too many upgrades. I am now inside of the bathroom. It looks like at some point maybe they remodeled the kitchen. I mean, not kitchen, I should say sink. Sorry, sinks. The dual sinks here. And also maybe have upgraded the back wall as well. All right, we're going to keep going. Bathroom also does not look upgraded as well. And we're also now in the garage. I see very, very little modifications. This looks like a standard resale with moderate to no improvements, guys. Okay, what we're going to do next is we're going to go directly into the stats section. I want to teach you guys what the stats reports are used for, but also how to right size those stats so that we don't overwhelm that prospective seller or buyer with possibly too much information. Okay, so we're going to go here into matrix. And where we're going to go is we're going to go right up here into the stats section. Okay. All right. Once we go into the stats section, we have presets that I mentioned yesterday that will allow us to run different reports located here. So again, these are already built for us that we can use. And then under customize later on, I can teach you how to create your very own separate statistical reports. Okay. All right. So we're going to dial in specifically inside of this area. So we're going to go first to zip code, and then we're going to put in 33189. So we can dial in inside of this local market. All right. We're going to look specifically at single family homes. So we're going to go to property type, single family. And then we're going to move down to the type of property, also known as the subtype of the property. And then we're going to move down and then click on single. So we do not pull statistical data for mobile homes. All right, so we're going to recap. We did single family right up here, type of property, single. And then we're going to look specifically inside of the zip code of 33189. Okay, we're going to look at data to match this property. We're going to look at data for 3 bedrooms as well as 2 bathrooms. All right. From there, we're going to move to the left where you see system presets, and then we're going to look specifically at the very first statistic that we get, which is comparing 2 different things. ADOM, which is average days on the market, versus the price of units in the middle of this market, also known as the median. Okay. All right, but let me make sure I explain when we would use this exact report. This report is great for a seller and even better for a buyer to let them know on average how long it's taking once a property goes under contract, once it is sold according to the MLS inside of this area. So we're going to click on ADOM versus list price median, and then we're going to go to the bottom left and then click on generate. Okay, the very first thing that I need you guys to know about the stats section of Matrix is these reports, they're different. What I mean by different is some of them will go back 5 years, some of them will go back 12 months. The reason why I mention that is our customer, when we're working with our buyer or seller, they're primarily interested in how the market's been performing more recently. For example, within the past year. Okay, so in a moment, I'm going to teach you how to right size this report so it's easier to understand for yourself, but also for your customer. So this little green line right here, this little green line right here is the metric located here on the left. This is going to let me know the days it's taking for units to sell inside of this market. Again, going back since 2021. We also have a fluctuation on the price of units in the middle of the market, letting us know if we're seeing a increase or a possible decrease in value in that market. Okay, but if I give this report like it is to that prospective buyer or seller, it's too much information for them to digest. So if you want to customize your report to only show maybe the past 12 months, or just dial in on how the market's been performing since the beginning of the year, if I click on customize, I can change the time frame of this report. So as you can see, it is telling me that it is automatically going back 5 years. But if I click on this menu, I can change how far back it goes. Looking at year to date, meaning from January through now, I can look at this market within the past 12 months, or you never know, this could happen to you. You have buyers that may ask you this. How was that market performing maybe in previous years? We have 2025 all the way through 2020. If we want to analyze this market within the past 10 years, we can. And if we know that the area has had a lot of new inventory, maybe DR Horton, Lennar, whole bunch of developers offloaded units, maybe within the past month or two, there's a custom button. Custom will allow me to tell the system exactly how far back I want this statistical report to go. So your freedom is there in order to make your decision. So for now, we're going to go to custom, and then I'm going to tell this report, let's go back since September of last year through, let's go ahead and put it as of, and I can't believe it's March already, man. This year's flying by. We're going to go ahead and put have the report begin as of September through right now through March. Once I click on generate, guys, this report's going to be a lot easier to understand, and also let me know if my peak periods in this market, including times it took longer to sell. So it is letting me know if I hover my mouse over this peak period here, it's letting me know January properties took a little longer to sell. We do have a lot of homeowners that go on vacation. They step out for a little while. We do have a peak there at 92 days from under contract to closing. So again, this is the chart version, guys. There's also a data button here in the top right that will allow you to just see the numbers. Okay, so if my buyer, this is the main takeaway of what I want to make sure you guys know. If my buyer asks me, hey, how long is it taken for properties to go from contract to closing? I have that metric here, days to sell. So it's letting me know December moved under a month, 25 days. January 92, February units moved quicker at 15, but we're back where we were in January. It is slowed down a little bit there at 104 days. And it will also give me a fluctuation on pricing inside of that local market. All right. Okay. Now we're going to go to presets, guys. We do need to get through these reports to run 2 CMAs. So we're going to go into the next one, which is the historic count of active listings. But I need you guys to know something. How to calculate months of supply. Okay. Why? Why do I say that? We always want to know the type of market that we're in. So the next two reports that I'm going to show you is how you calculate your months of supply, how you know if you're in a seller's market, balanced market, buyer's market. Okay. So historic count of active listings is going to give me how many listings remained available each month. Okay. But once I run my historic sales by year and then I look at those sales each month, when I take the amount of sales and then I divide by the amount of active listings, that's going to give me my months of supply, my months of inventory. So if you want to know how to generate that using these stats reports, you need both of these. But Tyson, show me how to find that information. So we're going to go to historic count of active listings. We're going to click on generate. All right. Right here under data, it's letting me know for January of 2026 of this year, 36 active units. February, 31 active units still available for sale. If I go into the next report, historic sales by year, and then I click on generate, I get how many units that made it all the way to sold in that local market. And then that's going to allow me to calculate the months of supply. Okay. If you don't like to do the math, right? If you don't like to do the math, I want to make sure I mention that RPR, which is included within your member benefits, will do it for you. If you go to the research section of RPR and you go right here where you see residential market trends. You can do like we're doing. You can look at the entire zip code. Or if you want to get even closer, you can even enter the name of the community or building, because this works for buildings as well. You can enter the name of that community and it will automatically give you the months of supply for that area. Okay. Now, when you first look at RPR, it will give you all property types. So if you're just looking at a single family home, you can change that within the menu. That's going to give you the months of inventory, meaning how long it's going to take for units to sell. We're looking at 8.5 months. It's going to let you know how closely homeowners on average are getting to their asking price, the median days that they're listed, as well as the overall general sold price inside of that market. Okay, that is for those of you guys that don't want to do, I should say, the math. But if you want to run the numbers yourself to calculate that, that's using both of these reports together. Okay, all right. We're going to keep going, guys. We're going to go into the next one, which is the historic sales price trend. Okay, so what this does is it gives me the price of property in this area that's sold. It's going to give me more of an average price, not median. Median, again, focuses on the price of units in the middle of the market. So what I would want to you what I would want to do, I should say, for this one is I would want to go back into my criteria under the search option, and then I would dial in and get a little closer to the overall asking price of the unit my buyer's interested in. A good rule of thumb is to go 100,000 less to 100,000 more. So I would go here under price just to dial in a little closer. I would put 450 up to 650 within the price range. Why? We do have some zip codes and not to mention cities that have properties that have different values and different amenities inside of those developments. So sometimes just entering that price range allows us to stay in that market price. Okay. So we're going to go back under search. We're going to enter a minimum of 450 up to 650. We're going to use the historic sales price trend and then we're going to generate. All right. And then here's the very, very important thing when you add pricing to your graphs. Okay, when we add additional items inside of our criteria, it can, as you can see, it can break the overall chart. Why? Pricing of units in this area before 2021, they were not at this price point. So if I give this report like it is directly to my customer, they're going to ask questions. Why does it look like it's incomplete? So we always want to make sure, because some of these reports go back 5 months, some of them go back 12 months, that we customize the report so that it shows the latest and greatest information. So we're going to go here to customize and let's look at this local market within the past 12 months. We're going to generate. All right. And then we're going to go to data because it's just going to give me those raw numbers and it's going to let me know what it's using to calculate. It's going to give me the amount of active listings. So within that price point in December, we did have 16. The average sale price was 517. January, we had 21 active listings. Average sale price at 546. Looks like this market's been stable going back in time. February, 17 active listings with an average sale price of 548. This is also possibly letting us know if this property is listed at the right market value so far. As we go down, March, we did have a jump of inventory from 17 to 20 listings. We did go up three, as we can see, and it does look like sale price did jump up a little bit, 20,000 at 565,000 for March. Okay, another really awesome thing that you guys can do is you can download this exact data into an Excel spreadsheet. If you ever want to upload that maybe into your customer resource management systems, and if you ever want to include this as a part of your seller or buyer presentation, both the chart and the data version of this information, you can print it out as well as download these reports as a PDF. So we do have a print button as well as an email button located here in the bottom left. But if you want to download it and put any of these reports inside of your presentation, when you click that print button, you can see the overall graph. And if you move down, there's also a show tabular data button that will allow you to include all of the numbers inside of that report. Okay. All right, we're going to keep going, guys, because we have to create two different CMAs. We're going to move a little quicker here. So we're going to go under presets. Again, that is the historic sales price trend. Okay. Now, the next report, which is called historic sales by price range, this report wants you to go into your criteria and not put a price range. So we would want to go back into our search and then we would remove the price range. Why? What this report does, if I'm looking at a city or a zip code, what it does is it batches the sales together based on how much they sold for. So I don't want to enter a price range. This one analyzes this zip code and lets me know the bottom end of the market and the top end of the market. I like this report for buyers, specifically investors. It lets me know the cheapest unit in that area that has sold. So we're going to go here to historic sales by price range, and then we're going to generate. All right. And as I mentioned, it's going to compare sales based on how much they sold for. The green line is going to represent 2024. The blue line is going to represent 2025. And then the purple line is going to represent 2026. Okay. So let's move over to this line here where it says 350,000 up to 400,000. It's letting me know the bottom end of this market. If I'm working with an investor, a potential buyer, a deal in this area could start at 350,000. Investors typically like to take units at the bottom end of that market to do repairs and redevelopment. Okay, so if I'm talking to that investor, I would let them know, hey, there's only one unit that sold between the price point this year between 350 up to 400,000. There's another unit in this area that sold under 500,000 between 450 to 500,000. This area is dominated by sales from 500 up to 600,000 as well as the top end of this market at 600 to 700,000. So investor, if you find something under 500,000 in this area, that might be a good deal as far as an investment. That's one of the reasons why I love this report. Again, it's called the historic sales by price range. Okay. All right. Now, if you ever want to save these reports, we did a lot of work under the search. We did a lot of work typing in all of the information that we entered. If you ever want to save these reports, so that you don't have to click on these options and just pull these up for your local area. You can go to save, and then you can save this report with a name. So I would go here, put 33189, single family homes, 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom. And then I would also, for a reminder for myself, I want to enter what I'm saving. What is the name of this report? Why am I creating it? So again, I have 33189 for the zip code, single family homes, 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom. And then we're going to go ahead and put right after that, market sales right after that. And if I want to also put a name of this report in Espanol, as you can see, we can also save this report with the name in Spanish. Okay. Now, this next button is very important. I want to go over it nice and slow, where you see save search criteria with preset. What that means is that you're saving the statistical report along with everything that you typed in or that you clicked on over here on the right. Okay. And if you want to quickly pull up any of your saved statistical reports in the main menu of Matrix, I mentioned this yesterday. We have a stats widget that we can access. If I save this as a copy, I will be able to pull up this report inside of the main Matrix dashboard. Okay. All right. We're going to keep going, guys. Next one that we're going to go through is list price by square foot ratios. What this does is it's going to give me the overall average price per square foot for this local area, as you can see. So for example, February, it's letting me know if the price per square foot was at $376. In January, the price per square foot is also $407. All right, I can compare that also to December of last year at 387, November at 389, just to figure out if this market is going through maybe a change. It looks stable to me. It does look like January. The price point there per square foot did go up a little bit, but it does look like a fairly stable market. Okay, if you do not know how to calculate price per square foot, I want to make sure you guys know how to do that. You take the price of the unit, either if it's for sale, you take the asking price and then you divide that by the living area. If it's a unit that's sold, you take the sold price and you divide that by the living area. That's going to give you the price per square foot. All right, guys, we're going to keep going. All right, now we're going to skip this one. This report is the same as this one. We're going to go to the next one, which is the original price versus sold price. Okay, so this one is one of my absolute favorite reports that we get inside of the Matrix system. As you can see, it compares the original asking price of the seller versus what the buyer ultimately paid, which is the sold price. So if I'm working with a buyer, right, and they want to submit an offer, it lets me know possibly, it's not guaranteed, it will let me know possibly if there's wiggle room on that purchase offer. But what I would want to do for this one, I would want to go back under my criteria under search. I would want to dial in within the price range of the unit that I'm looking at just to get a little bit more accurate sale price information. So I'd go back under search, enter that price range on this one, and then generate that beautiful report. I would go directly to data. That way I could just see those numbers. So for example, November, original asking price on average in this area, $599. Buyers paid ultimately $549. We also have for December, $569. Buyers paid $499. January, $562. Buyers paid $547. February, average price on it there was $574. Buyers paid $519. Okay, March, average original asking price, 600,000. And we're also looking at a average sale price of 565. Now, if you really want to get even closer, guys, again, this is a two-story property. If you want to get it even closer, you can go under search. And if you want to, for example, add additional fields, for example, maybe you want to add additional content, such as design description, and just pull statistical data on two-story units. You can add additional fields to better dial in on the reports when need be. So if I go here design description, click on two-story, because this unit is a two-story. I can see if the data allows me to get just a little bit closer there inside of the system. Okay. Now, you may not want to dial in with the zip code. If you over filter, you may want to remove the zip code and possibly go into the map and then hyper analyze this local market. This is a little bit of a bonus, guys. It's a little bit of a bonus. But if you know where that community is and you just want to dial in on statistical data there, you can use the little map search. Also, there's different ways to run these reports when you need to. Okay, so I'm going to clear the map. I am going to throw the zip code back on there. All right, and then we're going to go into the very last report, which is sale price by list price ratios. All right, we're going to turn off the design description just for now for two-story. We're going to click on generate data. And then that's going to let me know this very last report. It's going to let me know on average how closely homeowners got to their final asking price. So again, it says it here, close price to list price ratios. Homeowners are getting almost exactly what they're asking in this area. Okay. All right. So again, this is a quick rundown of the stats section, guys. What we're going to do next is we're going to run our CMA on this subject property. First, what we're going to use is the IMAP system. The reason why we always want to consider IMAP first is IMAP will allow me, before I create that CMA, it will let me know if there's any permit requests that the homeowner made. Now, we're not finding any improvements on this unit, but if they mention in the remarks that they redid the roof, they did a complete remodeling, for example, of the roof, right? This one, they did add accordion shutters at some point. If I want to confirm permit requests, what I love about IMAP is it's going to show me in most areas, it's going to confirm permit history as well as potentially code violations as well on that property. So I did say something very important. If you cannot find permit history on a property, as I mentioned yesterday, go to miamirealtors.com/zoning. Again, miamirealtors.com/zoning. During the holidays, I built on our website a permit search portal that you can access here in the bottom right. And then from there, this is going to allow you to jump directly into the city or county's information to see if that homeowner filed a permit. You would just go into the respective city or county information and then perform that lookup from there. Okay. All right. So without further ado, guys, we're going to go into the IMAP system. Now, when you're looking at a listing inside of Matrix, you can go directly into the IMAP property record by either clicking the IMAP button here in the top left or by clicking on the folio number. That is going to put you directly into IMAP's property record that they have aggregated directly from the county. Okay, before I break any of this down, if I have anyone following along, I want to make sure that you guys do this. Go here on the right where you see show report sections. Make sure that you have all of these check marked. Otherwise, you're not going to see every single thing that we look at inside of the property record. So again, make sure you go here to show report sections. Make sure that you have all of these on. Okay. Now we're going to move back up to the left and then we're going to break this property page down. Okay. So right here where you see property information, PID is the individual property identifier, also known as the folio number for this unit. Okay. If I ever want to go directly to the county appraiser's website just to see the information that they have, the reason why I say that is IMAP pulls records every month as to where if I go to the county appraiser's website, it is live information. So if I ever want to see tax information, including maybe a bill to see if they owe their taxes, I would want to come here. Also, okay. Also with an IMAP, we have the property address, the owner's name, which is Maria Fernanda Peña Vela, as we can see. And we also have the tax mailing address of the owner. So here's what's interesting about this unit. The tax mailing address is different than the property address, which indicates they don't live there. This would be an absentee owner. They might be selling the property. Now, we don't know why they're selling their property. Could be an investment that maybe they don't want anymore. As we go down, we also have directly from the state of Florida the individual use for this property. So it is a single family home. And we also have a zoning breakdown directly from the city of Cutler Bay. This is a cluster style single family home. Cluster means that the units, when the land was originally split, a lot of those units were packed very closely right next to each other. Okay, as we go down, we also have the lot size. That's going to be very, very important in just a moment. So the lot size is 3,473 square foot. This property does fall on a lake, as we can see, inside of the community of Lakes by the Bay. We also have the census tract block information if we ever wanted to go directly to the government's website to look up information from there. We have the township number, the range, the section, the coordinates in order to get to that property. You never know. Some of us work directly with military. I say that as a military person, just to make a joke. We also have the legal description of that unit directly from the county appraiser and the map. Another thing to mention is inside of this map, if you ever want to look at properties that are on the market, you do have these flags here where it says active. That means that there's units in this area that are for sale. If you see RNT, it means that they're rental listings. We also have yellow, which is anything that's under contract. Blue is going to be anything that's sold in the area. Uh, Anything with the dark color here is going to mean it expired. And we can also track foreclosures using this map. So if I have an investor that may want to buy this unit, I can look at the rental units there just to get a quick look at the average rental price for that area. So it's letting me know I have one rental listing in this area. I have the address, and they're currently asking 3,100. Okay. Now, I can also confirm against an actual unit that was rented out in that area. So I do have that blue flag there for the RNT option. It does let me know that this unit did rent out, as we can see, for 3,400. Okay. All right. Now, the other very, very important thing that I love about IMAP is IMAP will give me a breakdown directly from the county appraiser. It will let me know how much they value the property. So building value is letting me know how much the county says that the property is worth and also how much the land is worth. All right. If I want to see a history of taxes each year, I can click on this little arrow and this will tell me a full breakdown of the overall taxes. So again, building value is how much the city says that the property is worth. I also have the land value. It gives me the just market value, meaning how much the land, including the building, is worth according to the county appraiser. Again, this is not how much it's worth according to buyers in the area. This is how much it's valued according to the county. Okay. As we go down, we have the total assessed value, how much of that property here is worth according to its taxable value. And then we have a breakdown on those individual taxes, including the ad valorem taxes, not ad valorem, and then a breakdown on the tax amount year over year. Very important that I mention this. If the tax amount year over year are in red, it means that the homeowner is behind on their taxes. Now, this homeowner, their taxes are not in red, so they're not behind. But if they are in red, as I mentioned earlier, you would want to go to the county tax collector and just confirm if there is a bill. Okay. I say this nicely. If a homeowner is potentially behind on their taxes, that could be a motivation on why they might be selling that property, just to put that into perspective. A little bit further down where you see estimated current value, this is how much IMAP believes that the unit's worth based on sales in the area. Okay. We also have an equity estimate. It's letting us know that there's 100% equity. That could mean one of two things. It could mean that the buyer that purchased this unit They may have originally purchased this unit in cash, or they have paid off their loan. That's the other thing I want to make sure I say. If you want to know if there's loan details available for that unit, if the buyer originally purchased the unit using a loan, there's a button here in the top right where you see valuation analysis. This will let you know if there is any loan details. So this to me looks like a cash purchase originally by the buyer. They have 100% equity and there's not currently a loan balance there under that section. All right, we're going to go back into the main page to property tax. We're going to move down here. All right. And then here under sales information, this is pulled directly from the county appraiser's website. This will let me know when the property has changed hands in the past. So it does look like back in January of 2025, Grantor was the previous owner. It does look like Noemi Lorenza Francesca, as we can see, gave the property through a quick claim deed directly to Maria, as we can see. Back in a couple of years ago, in 2008, this property was a foreclosed property. So whenever you see trustee's deed right here, certificate of title, that means and I say this respectfully, that the homeowner lost the property, it became a bank-owned property, or it could mean that an investor outbidded the property from the bank and they won the property. Certificate of title just simply means it was a foreclosed property. Okay. All right, guys. As we go down, we have the building information. Again, this is mirrored directly from the county appraiser. We have the bedrooms and bathrooms, 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, the total square footage, the living area, when the property was built. And sometimes IMAP will provide us with square footage on different areas of that property. Okay. I did mention we can locate, in some cases, in IMAP, we can locate permit requests. The section that I'm looking at right now where it says city interactions, this section is going to show us permit history as well as code violations as well. So it doesn't look like they've made any recent modifications to this property. It does look like permits were made many, many years ago when the property was originally built. Okay. Another thing that we can see is all of the schools, all of the assigned schools in that area, including the individual grade groups, the enrollment, the distance of the schools, as well as a report card for each school. If the area is in a flood zone, we will get that confirmation located here on the bottom left where you see flood zone details. So it is letting me know that this property is in a flood zone there. As an AE coded property. And if I needed to look that up, I can go right into the FEMA map right there in order to get more information on that. And not to mention, IMAP will also give us flood insurance quotes when we're working directly with buyers. Okay, so we're going to move up, guys. We're going to go ahead and run the CMA. We're going to go right over here where you see find comparables. And as I mentioned, you can use IMAP absolutely to create a CMA, but when you use IMAP, my opinion is you would also want to use another system. You always want to use multiple systems when you create your CMAs, but IMAP is going to give us just those sold properties that have been registered as sold directly from the county appraiser. So we're going to go right over here on the right where you see find comparables. All right. And then we're going to move down here to where you see show report sections. If you're following along, in order to create this CMA, I ask that you guys turn on all of these check marks. Okay. All right. Now, your math might be a little bit different than mine. Don't worry about it. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you how to create that CMA using IMAP. So we're going to come down here to where you see comparison criteria. Okay, so we're going to treat this very closely to how appraisers find recent sold property. We're going to look for units that have relatively the same lot size as well as relatively the same living square footage. Okay, so we're going to use a value of 20%. Okay, so we're going to go here. We're going to select lot size plus or minus 20%. We're going to do the same thing for the living square footage. We're also going to select plus or minus 20%. And because this is a very large community, we're going to look for sales within 1 mile of that subject property. Okay. We're also going to look for sales within the past 3 months first. Okay, so let's recap. We're going to switch these both to plus or minus 20%. We're going to locate sales within 1 mile, and then we're also going to look at sales within the past 3 months. Okay, we're going to move over to this button where you see ignore bedrooms. We're going to look for units that have the same number of bedrooms, but we're not going to touch bathrooms. Why? Why? This unit has 1/2 bath. We're going to leave bathrooms alone just to find all sales so that we can look for the bathroom counts to make sure that they match. Okay, now this button needs to just say ignore year built for now. For residential, we only change this if we're looking at fairly new construction. Okay, this button needs to say matches have equivalent property usage type. So what that means is if I'm looking at a single family home and I look at sales, it's just going to give me single family homes. It's not going to throw in condos or apartments. Okay. And then this button needs to say using best available all sources. What that means is I'm going to be able to pull all sales, including what was listed in the MLS and anything that's sold outside of the MLS, such as a for sale by owner. Okay. Once we lock those in, we click on update criteria. We click on update criteria. And then what that does is it will provide us with comps if it finds sales. Okay, so starting here in the top left, this is going to be the subject property that we are analyzing in order to conduct that CMA. So I have the address, I have the community, I also have the living square footage, the total square footage, the bedrooms and bathrooms, the amount of stories, and not to mention, I get a projected sale price. Okay, so this metric right here, where you see estimated range based on value ratio, this is how much units in the area are worth according to the county, not how much they're worth according to sales in that area. What we would want to do is focus on this metric, where it says estimated range based on price per square foot. It's letting me know based on this local area, properties are selling as low as 389. The system is fairly confident that this unit, based on the sales it's coming back with, would be worth about 450 or up to 481. Okay, so what we would want to do is we would want to look at the unit that sold at the highest. Okay, so the unit that sold at the highest, it sold for 453,000. And its market value, meaning how much it's worth according to the county appraiser, is worth about 377. We have a little metric that IMAP and also RPR uses called an market value ratio. Okay, there's a little question mark located here in the top right. What it's going to tell you is if a property sells and its MV ratio is under 0.95, it could signify, I should say, that the property sold for less than the county's market value. What that could mean, if a property has a market value under a 0.95, it could mean that it needed a great amount of repairs. The more it deviates from 1.0, we would want to study each individual unit's market value compared to its sale price. The higher the market value, it could indicate that the homeowner did a great amount of repairs or improvements, including remodeling. So we do have this unit that sold at 453,000, located here. It is a two-story, just like our unit, three-bedroom, two-bathroom property, and it did sell not too long ago in February, right there at that 453,000. That what's interesting about all of the units we're coming back with, these are all for sale by owners. If an agent assisted selling these, specifically listed these units in the MLS, there would be typically an R logo here. All right, so what I mean by that is, let's make sure I make this make a lot of sense. So traditionally speaking, for sale by owner sales, they sell at a lower price than a property listed in the MLS. Okay, so these might not be good comps to work off of. Possibly. What we would want to do is we have this unit that sold at 453. What I would want to do is click on the folio number. All right. And I can go directly into that sales MLS listing information just to see if maybe it was listed in the MLS. Sometimes that our logo, it may not show up. It might have been listed in the MLS. When in doubt, access the folio number, go into the MLS listing information. It will let you know if it actually was listed. Just want to make sure I cover that. So I have this unit, again, the one that sold at the highest at 453. This unit's had a great amount of improvements there. We do see that the bathroom's been remodeled. We also see some flooring modifications. That bathroom doesn't look like it's had too many of improvements, but I see some improvements specifically on this unit. Okay. So that unit sold at 453, and we do have that MV ratio here at a 1.25. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the unit that sold at the lowest. We have this one that sold at 390. We're going to access its folio number. All right, and we always want to know, very, very important, we always want to know the sales information. We want to check to see if it was a certificate of title. If it's a foreclosed property, a lot of those sometimes are not in the best condition. This looks like a standard warranty deed. Previous owner was Romel Palagar. As we can see, we don't have the current buyer's information under grantee, but we do see their name over here in the top right where you see current owner. So we have Almeria Construction LLC. So my opinion, this is priced at 390. This was a remodel. I'm not saying demolition. It could be. It could be. I have the market value here for the land and also the building. This looks like a property that needed a great amount of repairs, just based on the owner's name. So my property, while yes, it's a resale, the one that we're looking at, it doesn't need to be greatly, greatly remodeled or possibly demolished in order for a buyer to want to purchase it. So this is my investor special, I would say. That is not going to be a unit to look at for the sale. So I would unselect that. That is throwing off my sales valuation. Okay, I would want to go to the next one, the one that sold at 400,000. Do the same thing, access the folio number, and see the deed change. Okay, so here's what's interesting on this one. 2025, November the 19th. Okay. This was a trust. So it does look like the property owner originally passed away. And I say that with due respect. Okay. The person that received the property through the trust, the beneficiary, it does look like it was Lisa Ryan Guerra, as we can see. All right. And she sold this property for 400,000. Okay. When we're running our CMAs, important for us to look for short sales. It's also important for us to look at foreclosures. Those can sell at a much, much lower price. And not to mention, and I'm not saying this for every scenario, but a lot of the time when a property goes through a trust and then a beneficiary receives that property through a trust, they don't only just receive that property. They receive the taxes on that property and the insurance. So if they don't want to keep the property, they might sell the property pennies on the dollar. So this is another property that would not fit with this overall sales valuation. So here's where we are. In IMAP, we're stuck with just this one sale at 453,000. When we're creating a CMA, we need at least three sales. Okay. If I want to take this report and then go into maybe another service like RPR or Matrix to get a second opinion, but I download this and attach it to the primary CMA, I can save this as a PDF. I can print it, download it, as well as email this overall report directly to my customer. If I want to come back maybe later on in IMAP to look at this sales valuation, I can save this directly as a bookmark. I could put notes, CMA for John Smith buyer. All right. And then I could even add a tag, CMA there, and then save this property directly as a bookmark. And then I could pull it up later under my bookmarks here by either searching using my contact filters if I added my customer, or if I have tags and I've associated this property with the tag, I can quickly find that property using filters, as you can see. I can also find my bookmark properties. Again, under the bookmark option, I can quickly find recently saved property, such as today, where I can jump directly back into that property CMA in IMAP. Okay. All right, guys. So we need a second opinion. We need to go now into the MLS, into Matrix, in order to find on market sales that maybe has not made it directly to the county record. And I want to also use Matrix to find anything that might still be for sale or under contract. IMAP did not give us enough comparative sales. The ones that we found, two were disqualified because they were not sales that were standard resales. Okay, so we're going to go into Matrix. We're going to go under search, and then we're going to go into the RE1, RE2 single family condo section. Okay, now IMAP did a lot of the legwork for us. What we're going to need to do now is search inside of this area. So in Matrix, we're going to need to use this map search so we can find comparative units next to this property. So we're going to enter the address of 9162 Southwest 213th Lane. We're going to go right here to find the address, to dial that in. And then we're going to look, let's go out first 1 mile from this subject property. It is a large community. Okay, so again, we're going to look within that area. We're going to use active status, coming soon, active with contract, pending, and then we're going to pick up closed sales. We're going to go back 90 days just to find recently closed sales in this area. Okay. We're going to look at 3 bedrooms and 2 bathroom property. All right. And we're just going to hyper focus on those single family homes as well as just under the subtype single family homes. So I do not pull mobile homes. Okay. So let's recap. Active, coming soon, active with contract, closed. We're going to go back 90 days. We're also going to pick up what's under contract as pending. We're going to go out 1 mile. We're going to use 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms as well. And we will eventually look at waterfront. This was more of a, I think it was a pond front property. For now, we're going to leave that alone. But we're going to go here to RE1 SF pool. This property does not have a pool. We're going to put no for pool. All right. Now, IMAP, if you guys remember, we clicked a button where we told IMAP to look for units within a 20% size value. Matrix and RPR and Realist, they're not going to do that for you. So what you're going to need to do if you're going to use RPR or matrix to create your CMA, you're going to need to do a little bit of some math so you find units that are relatively the same size. So we have the living area for this unit at 1648. What I would want to do is open up my calculator so that I can manually figure out that 20% difference in size. So we have the living area at 1648. So we would put that into my calculator, 1648, and then I could multiply that by 0.20, by 20%. That is going to give me my size difference that I would subtract from the 1648, and then I would add to the 1648, just like an appraiser. Okay, so now that I have that 329, we're going to go back into the matrix search, and then what we're going to do, just going to move this over real quick. I'm going to put that 329 here just to have it there for now. We're going to remove it in a moment. I'm going to go back into my calculator. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that 1648, which is our living area. We're going to subtract by 329, letting me know the smallest unit I should look at should start at 1319. Okay. And then from there, I would take the 1648 and then add the 329, telling the system to look for units no bigger than 1978. Okay, that way I can find units that are relatively the same size. Okay, all right, from here, I have other recommendations so that you right size that CMA. We're going to move down here to the additional fields. We did add these fields yesterday. So short sale, we're going to put no. Short sale means that the homeowner with bank approval, they're behind on their mortgage payments. And some short sales, the bank may allow the homeowner to list their property based on the remaining mortgage balance, which can greatly throw off my CMA. So for short sale, we're going to put no. We lost 4 comps. Okay, we're going to go to REO, which is bank-owned property. We're going to put no as well. All right, we did lose 1 foreclosure in the area. All right, we're down to 35. Okay, the reason why we're removing bank-owned property is in some instances, they're not always in the best condition. Okay, we're going to go down to design description, which we added yesterday, and we're just going to look at 2-story properties. Okay, so we went from 35 now down to a reasonable 7 comparative sales. So we have 2-story units coming back within our comps. All right, now there's a couple of different ways to look at the results of your CMA. You have the overall results page here, and then you also, because we're looking at sales within a mile. We can go to the map if need be, and we can just make sure that these sales are in that same community. Okay, so all of these properties that are for sale or sold, they're in the same community, but if they're across the street, maybe on the other side of Old Cutler Road, I may want to draw using maybe a freehand polygon and just stay inside of that local market, kind of like what we did yesterday when we were searching. Okay, we don't need to do that for this one. We're just going to go to the results. All of these units, with the exception of this one, it does look like they're all in that same community. Okay, so this one in Pelican Bay at Old Cutler, we're going to remove this one. A119777573. It's in a different development. We're going to remove that one. We're going to go down to refine, and then we're going to discard that unit. Okay. All right. Now we have all of these individual units coming back. The first 3 are still active and they're still available. We're also seeing that those active units have had price decreases. Okay, we do have this unit here that was sold. Original asking was $480 for that unit. Buyer ultimately paid $453. And then we have 2 additional units inside of that community that are under contract. They're pending sale. potentially waiting on contingencies, we have those units coming back at 589 to 575. Okay. Now, earlier we did sort by the overall lot size. If you guys remember in IMAP, we clicked a button to automatically filter by lot size. When you're using Matrix, there is a field. I'm going to go back into criteria. There is a field where you can search by lot size and then filter using lot size. My opinion is don't use the lot size filter. Instead, when you're looking at the lot size to make sure that they're relatively the same lot size, again, don't filter. Just look over here on the right, and then that's going to tell you if they're relatively the same size. So our unit, if I remember right, it was in the 3000s for its lot size. I think it was 3,473. So the first unit would be a perfect match. This unit would be a perfect match, but we would want to potentially remove the second comp as well as the last two. Okay, so we would do the following. We would go here on the left, remove the second one, the fifth and sixth one. We would discard those immediately from that comp. So we are coming back now with these three exact comps. And then if we want to launch these and then put these directly into the Matrix CMA, I can click the square here on the left and then offload these units there inside of the CMA. Here's the important detail though. One of the units coming back is the exact unit that we're analyzing, as you can see. So this would not be an exact comp. What I would want to do is remove this one, go under the refine option, discard. I have these two comps, as you can see. Now, at any time, because I also want to make sure I teach this mechanically, you can go at any time back into your criteria. And if you know that this market's been relatively stable, you can go back more than 90 days. You could go back, for example, maybe 120 days just to see if you pull some additional comps. So anytime you can update your criteria, you can go back into your results just to see if you picked up maybe some additional comps inside of that sales overall valuation. So when I did go back an extra 30 days, we did pick up one additional unit. As we can see, we have one that is active at 650. We do have one that was sold at 589, and we also have that unit here that sold at 453. Okay. All right. From here, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go back under the actions tray. And what we're going to go ahead and do is I want to teach you guys how to run the rapid CMA inside of the MLS. So right here where you see actions, you do have the CMA button. What that will do is allow you to launch the customizable CMA where you can add pages, build it, add additional custom pages. And there's also one, I'm just going to go back into the main results. There's also a CMA option if you don't have time to build it right here where you see print. The print button will allow you, if you don't want to build that full CMA where you add a bunch of additional flyers, where you can just get the CMA overall values of the units coming back. And then you can also provide photos of the units directly to that seller or buyer. Okay, so where those are located is here under reports, where it says reports below print as PDF. You can click on the CMA one-line summary report. And then if you want to include photos as a part of that presentation of all of the units that we found in that CMA, you also have a 3-up comparison. You can email the CMA to your customer, or if you want, you can print it, download it, and then share that directly with your seller or your buyer. So yesterday, guys, we set up our logos, our photos, our contact information in the Matrix 101. And here it is filled out within that report. All of our information, this is going to include within that overall price opinion to that customer, the unit that we located that is active. It's going to give us the unit that sold at the highest as well, as far as the overall closed prices. And then over here towards the grand total, it will give me a range based on the comparative sales that we located. It's going to give me an overall days on the market. It's letting me know that units are taking up to 3 months to sell. It's going to give me an average original price, an average list price. What that means is if they did any price reductions, this is the overall average price. And then we have the overall sale price. So if I'm working directly with the buyer based on the comps coming back, we do have a range here between 521 or up to 573. And the unit that we came back is right there in the middle at 550. Okay. So again, this is the rapid CMA, guys. You also have that full option here under the actions tray where you can build a CMA from scratch, where you can add custom pages. Just want to cover this real quick, where you can add custom pages directly from your computer, including the flyers that I showed you guys earlier under co-branding. If you want to upload any seller marketing that you have from your brokerage or your buyer, you can go directly through your computer, upload those files here, and then you can add those as custom pages if you want to use the full version of Matrix's CMA. You can even add a cover sheet inside of that CMA. If you've made any adjustments as well, maybe you know some of the units have had some repairs after they sold. There's an option here under adjustments where we can add any price adjustments, an overall summary list. Again, we're building a CMA, including a bunch of different pages. If we want to include some additional reports, we have a section here called comparables. My favorite option under comparables is the pro report. I can include a full breakdown of all of the sales that we came back with, and we can line these up in whatever order we want. So typically what I like to do is have the cover sheet on the first. We can add a summary list of all of the units that we located. The pro report's going to do a breakdown of each individual unit, including the description, bedrooms and bathrooms. And if I want to provide a price recommendation inside the CMA, we want to include that under the comparables option. And then right here where you see static, these are going to be marketing pieces that we also include within the full CMA, additional marketing pieces in order to secure that seller, including marketing, making sure that they list it at the right value, setting the right price, not overpricing the property. And if that buyer wants to know where we found units within the CMA, we can include a CMA map letting them know where those units were found. Okay, once we select the pages we want to show up in that CMA, we can set this as a default, so we keep that locked in for every single CMA that we do. We can also restore it to the defaults, the default recommendations that Matrix gives us. And if we want to clear, start from scratch, we also have a clear button. Okay, so we're going to go to subject, guys. We might go over just a couple of minutes. I wanted to do a deep dive on the CMA process with you, including a full breakdown of the stats reports, when you guys should use them. So we might go over a couple of minutes. So subject, this is where when we're creating that CMA, we enter the subject property of the sellers, or we enter the subject property for the property that the buyer is interested in. Now, there's a couple of different ways to locate that property inside of the CMA. So right here, if the property's new construction, you can enter the property details from scratch. If the property was listed inside of the MLS, you can quickly locate that property and then add it as your subject property. You just need the listing number. If you don't have the listing number, there is a search option here where you can search through the MLS in order to add it as your subject property. Once you click on fill, it will automatically provide all of the details of the property here, where you can make any changes, including changing the photo here. You can view the cover information, meaning the very first page of the CMA as well. You can double check your contact information. And then over here on the right where you see contact information, you can also enter your seller or buyer's information if need be. Comparables will allow us for the last time to double check the comparables that we're coming back with. If we want to add any listings maybe from other searches that we did that we want to throw in here, we can add those listings. We would just simply perform a search. All right, we're going to go back. You also have the ability to off-market properties that you've saved directly to a cart inside of your CMA as well. You can view and preview the map on where all of those sales were, as well as where your subject property is. If you make any adjustments, for example, maybe some of these units sold and you know that the buyer that purchased these units, they made some modifications to the units. You can also change the overall bedrooms and bathrooms. If they added a pool, you can add that. If they've expanded their lot size, you can mention that here. If they knocked down the property, rebuilt it, you can even change the year that the unit was built. You can also enter your total adjustments. So if they did a re-roof at 30,000, you can add that there. That's going to change the overall adjusted price. Okay, last but not least, before I let you guys go, is your pricing. This will provide that estimation and value inside of that CMA that you can provide directly to your customers. And within that CMA package, we can also enter a suggested list price. So I could say something like this to that buyer. I could put, based on the sales I have found, I would suggest an offer range between, and then we could mention what we found through the CMA, 550 up to, for example, actually it was a little bit lower than that, 530 up to 570. Let me know when would be a good time to discuss. Okay. And if I want to add any notes, for example, maybe I want the buyer or seller to look at one of the comps in specific, I could say, look at the second sale I have found. It matches yours. Whoops, there you go, matches yours. And then from there, once we're done building it, we can go to finish right there. And then I can quickly email that to the customer, or I can download it if they're there with me, or if I want to email it. I have that full CMA presentation, guys. We're almost done. I think we have maybe one more minute before I let you go. This is going to be that full version of the CMA where we can add additional flyers or take advantage of some of the flyers available from Cotality, which is Matrix. It just takes a couple of minutes to generate that CMA. And the very first page that we come back will include our subject property, our cover sheet with our information, an overall price recommendation, and not to mention an overall average based on the sales that we came back with, the CMA Pro report. So if my buyer or seller wants more information on each unit that we located inside of that CMA, they get the property details. And then further down, we also have a breakdown of all of the units, including the property that sold at the highest to the lowest. And then a little bit further down, we have that CMA map where they can see the subject property, including all of the individual sales that we located. And last but not least, as we go down, we have those additional items, including as soon as if I'm working with a seller, if we get that property listed in the MLS, typically we get a lot of offers or a lot of attention on that property within that first couple of weeks. And then you're guaranteed to them, working with them, and the effects of overpricing, including the loss of interest possibly over time if we don't get the pricing right. A lot of pricing recommendations, guys, within this overall flyer presentation, and not to mention all of our marketing that we're going to do, negotiation, securing the property, including using Supra as well, and not to mention the importance of pricing. Getting that property listed right at market value will increase the likelihood of offers somewhere around 60%. Overpricing the property may not attract buyers. All right, as we go down, and get more information to get that price right. We want to get that price somewhere right there at the market value. Buyers typically want to pay a little bit less Sellers want to kind of list a little bit over market value, but again, we want to get that price right there in the middle, guys. All right, that is it. I do want to thank you guys so much for your time today. Again, this was recorded, so we did a full breakdown of the stat section. Most importantly, guys, I wanted to make sure you know how to right size your stats reports when you would use them when you're working with different types of sellers or buyers. And not to mention, we did a CMA, deep CMA inside of IMAP, looking at the exact type of sales. And then we also went directly into Matrix using the MLS to find on market and under contract listings. I do want to thank you so much, guys. This was recorded. I will get this to the YouTube channel by the end of the day. We're going to take a quick little 25-minute cafecito break. And then at 11:30, we're going to go directly into the Matrix 401. We're going to go deep into rentals next. Okay, Angel asked the question, will you be emailing us the recording of today's Zoom set? So yes, Angel, I'm a little bit behind on the 101 and 201, but you can go to the YouTube. They're there from yesterday's session. I will email you. I'm a little bit behind on emailing you guys individually, but they're there already. But the 301 and the 401, I'll get those done and send those over to you guys by the end of the day. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. For those of you for the 401 at 11:30, see you there. All right, guys. Bye.